It's the most wonderful time of the year. Big East basketball is back right now in Cincinnati. It is St. John's and Xavier in the first game of the Big East season. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Paul Fritchner alongside Matt Schumacher. And Matt, we have a very interesting matchup today between two teams that, quite frankly, have had a bit opposite seasons, but St. John's coming in, turning a new leaf from last season, and Xavier under first-year head coach Mel Moore. They are looking to really bump things up here in conference play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for St. John's today is all about that start at a run for a conference title, which is something that they've had in their sights since the preseason. And
for Xavier, that's something that they are looking to do under first-year head coach Mel Moore. They're looking to really improve where they picked up from in non-conference play. As you see Xavier scoring at just under 62 points a game, St. John's at nearly 80 points. 62 points for Xavier, that's an area of concern for head coach Mel Moore, who wants to start scoring in the upper 70s as a team goal.
Yeah, and it all takes time, right? It's one step at a time for a program that's learning how to win still. They didn't win a lot of games last year or the year before that, but Mel Moore is the coach to turn this program around. And on the other side for St. John's, they have scored it at a rate with the very best in the country. And I think for Xavier to have a shot tonight, they have got to muddy the waters and not let St. John's get out on the break. And, partner, one of those players to watch today for St. John's is Kadasha Hoppe, who now in her junior season has really evolved into a consistent player that the coaching staff can rely on night in and night out. And she has been special for this team so far. Just one game in which she's been held to single digits out of the first 11.
And she's 7th in the Big East in scoring at those 16.2 points per game. She is the catalyst of this St. John's offense. And on the other side, for the Xavier Musketeers, Ariana Gray, who's really a jack of all trades for this Xavier team.
Pro potential and perhaps even WNBA potential if she can shore up some different areas of her game. She is challenged by the coaching staff on a daily basis. She averages a double-double, but the coaching staff feels like her ceiling is even higher. She definitely has the potential to be a Big East Player of the Year candidate.
Leads the Big East in rebounding, preseason All-Big East team. Ariana Gray, certainly one to watch. It's St. John's and Xavier coming up right after this on the Big East Digital Network, presented by SoFi.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university, we're at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
Just about ready to get things started here from Cincinnati. Paul Fritchner, Matt Schumacher with you as St. John's and Xavier out to the jump circle. They get underway here and get conference play started. See the starters there for St. John's: Alicia Keeby, Tiana England, Kadasha Hoppe, alongside Alyssa Alston and Emma Nolan for the Red Storm. And for the Musketeers, Deja Ross, Aaliyah Dunham, Lauren Wasselson, Ari Gray, and Ayanna Townsend for the Musketeers under the direction of Coach Mel Moore, who, Matt, is in her first season and is telling us how much she's learned through her first 11 games at the helm. And the Big East season is underway as St. John's controls the tip. St. John's liking to play that up-tempo style of offense, scoring over 77 points a game.
And they run just so much off the ball action. If you watch their guards off the ball, they're constantly in motion, constantly moving. They're able to play more aggressively this year because of the depth that they have on the roster.
Nice block from behind by Deja Ross to give the ball to the Musketeers for the first time this afternoon. St. John's man-to-man defense to start out here. St. John's in the red, Xavier in the white. On Wasselson into the corner for Dunham. Looking around, trying to feed Townsend down low. Goes to work in the post. Her shot too strong, and Nolan corrals the board. You can see how fast in transition, Matt, just to your point. Everything outside the perimeter here for St. John's. Driving to the bucket, KB. Can't get it to fall. Dunham back the other way with it for the Musketeers. Drops it off to Ariana Gray, averaging a double-double. Gray just picking up where she left off last season. Here's Townsend to the rack. She's fouled.
I think that could be a really important aspect of the Xavier half-court offense today. Getting it into the paint and challenging these post players for St. John's. It's an area where St. John's, if they've had a weakness this year defensively, it's been in defending the paint. And, you know, with Xavier struggling to score in the half court at times this year, Paul, if they can get some points at the stripe, that would be huge today.
Townsend, a 53% free throw shooter, short on the first. Xavier coming into today 1-10 overall. They won the season opener against Utah. A strong win for this team to start the season. Things were looking up, and then since then, 10 straight losses for the Musketeers. As Townsend puts the Musketeers on the board first. But quickly come the Red Storm the other way. And Deja Ross called for the foul. Alyssa Alston driving hard along the right side, and Alston will inbound. And now Gray getting called for the foul off the inbound pass. KB coming over to get it. Knocked to the ground, and foul trouble is certainly something with Ari Gray you can't afford to do here, picking up one less than a minute and a half into the game.
Really up and down the Xavier roster. They're just not a very deep team, and you know that's not to be not expected at this point in where the program is at, with Mel Moore trying to turn things around and rebuilding.
Kadasha Hoppy, 16.2 points per game, putting St. John's in front. Early lead change here for the Red Storm.
Really good off-ball action right there from Deja Ross. They didn't feed her.
Townsend called for the travel as she tried to place that pivot foot.
But I really like that action from Deja Ross. You know, the coaching staff challenged her to be more aggressive and looking for her own shot because they have lacked scoring in the half court. I like that she's curling off screens in the triple threat position.
Here's England coming off a screen, straight to the bucket. Beautiful slashing move from England to get the screen off the handoff.
Averaging just over 10 points per game. Freakishly athletic, in the words of Joe Tardamella.
England's so good at giving out those assists as she gets one there. Is Townsend again. And the offense flowing through Townsend here early, but she can't find the bottom of the net. KB strong to the bucket. And now Deja Ross quickly called for her second foul.
Xavier's got to collapse in transition. The lane was wide open there, and that's what left Deja Ross sort of in no man's land. As you take a look at Joe Tardamella, you know, Paul, you and I were talking about it coming into this. This might be the best chance St. John's has had to win a title since 2016, when they sort of ran the table in that magical run in Chicago a few years ago. Took down DePaul along the way. That was the last time they won a title, and the first time since 1988. This season, though, seems to be one of those that could potentially have a title feel to it.
Yep. Alicia KB, very good free throw shooter, almost 86%. She knocks them both. One thing that Coach Tardamella was telling us that has been really a help to him this year, as you see St. John's apply some pressure here on Xavier. is the depth that he has for this team. And it's something he hasn't been able to work with, especially not last year, as Wasselson lets it fly from the corner and she knocks it down. Big shot for Lauren Wasselson. Xavier will need that from Wasselson, but quickly to answer, Emma Nolan lighting it up. She's 41% three-point shooter, and she knocks down her first. 9-4 St. John's early on. Here goes Gray to the bucket through two defenders from the left side.
And that's something she's added to her game, driving with the left. Thought of as a post player in this league, but somebody who can take it to the rack from up top. And that's just too easy for Alicia Caby. Nobody blocking out. She sees that and gets the easy scoop and score.
Alston missed the shot. Caby cleaned it up. Xavier takes a timeout, and it's a 5-point lead for the Red Storm here with 6:31 left in the first quarter.
Chicago, Cleveland,
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
Hartford,
Colorado, Oklahoma,
Thailand,
Norway, Cameroon.
And I chose
Xavier University.
for business, chemical science,
Occupational therapy,
philosophy, politics, and the public.
computer science.
Because it felt like home.
I knew I would be welcome.
Because they take care of veterans.
I felt connected to the campus, to the people.
The sports.
I came here to be a musketeer, and now
And now,
I am.
I am.
I am.
all for one.
We're all in, all together. Great voices right at the start, great energy. We're getting excited about what we do, all right? You know how together you are. You know how hard you're gonna work, but you also know how good you are. Let's go, Storm. 1, 2, 3.
Together!
This is our time.
When we bring it together, and we all locked in, we coming back in this locker room with a victory.
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets.
Stand up stronger. I got the power, gonna raise it up. So high, we're shining brighter. We got the power, gonna raise it up. We got the power, gonna raise it up. We're running ahead, and we got to raise it up.
See Xavier talking things over in the huddle right now as Xavier trails it by 5 early on in this game. And Matt, some of the issues for Xavier here through the first 3.5 minutes have been some of the transition defense for Xavier, but that's a key for St. John's is how quickly they can get the ball back up the court.
Yeah, and if you're Xavier, that's something that you pointed out in the scouting report, and I'm sure Mel Moore and her staff are reminding the Musketeers of that in this huddle right here. The MO for this St. John's team is to push it, so you need to be hightailing it back on defense with your head on a swivel. But on the other side, Xavier just has to calm down offensively. They've had some really good looks right in around the rim and have either left them short or long. The looks are there, and eventually you got to think the shots are going to start falling.
You mentioned the scouting report, Matt, and one of the things that Coach Moore really wanted to focus on in the non-conference season was preparing themselves for all styles of play that they would face in Big East play, because she knew, even though this is her first run through the Big East gauntlet, she knew that you could face so many different styles of teams. And the way they scheduled the non-conference is Xavier will face, again, this full court pressure. Xavier scheduled the non-conference against quick teams, against maybe slow teams that facilitated the post. They played games with 1 to 2 day breaks to mimic the Big East schedule. They tried to do everything they could to mimic the Big East play as Carrie Gross quickly breaks the press and knocks it down from deep.
And what a star she has become for this Xavier team through the non-conference slate and now into conference play. They're hoping that her production continues through the Big East season.
Nearly a 40% three-point shooter, Carrie Gross, brings the deficit back to within 3. Alston against Prenger, kicking it into the corner. Hoppy letting it fly, around and out, and there's Prenger with the board. Prenger had a beautiful season opener against Utah. He's trying to continue that song start through the rest of this season, seeing significant minutes, averaging just about 4 points a game. Wasselson, Pringer trying to get space down low. Dunham driving, she's cut off. Here's Gray, strong to the bucket, through contact, no. Now St. John sets it up. Xavier there, settling back in on defense, not caught off. Alston. Long range shot, short for Hoppy, but kicked around, and St. John's will reset the offense. Shot clock going back to 20. Dunham on England. England looking down low again. Pringer walling up against Raven Farley, but Farley winning the battle. Raven Farley, who sat the semester due to the transfer. She made her debut against Fairfield, coming in from LSU.
St. John's has been known as guard U in the Big East Conference, but Farley at 6'4", boy, she can pack a punch in the low block and can be a real asset for them as the season goes along.
There's Bailey underneath, but Courtney Pringer called for the foul as Farley went in and tried to gain position. You can see Raven Farley towering over the rest of this team. Alston goes out. Hoppy inbounding. Ball tipped away. Wasselson wanted off of England's hands, but St. John's will inbound in front of the Xavier bench.
I'm intrigued by the dynamic of the St. John's team this year. They've got a couple of transfers, and then they've got some players like Tiana England, like Kadasha Hoppy, who have been in the program and played big minutes since their freshman years, now as veterans.
Here's Hoppy, mid-range jumper, and she knocks it down. Impressive shot to create space from Hoppy.
You know, I think for this St. John's team, if they can come together and weather this gauntlet round robin in the Big East, they can really be a formidable contender against DePaul.
Wasselson letting it fly from deep, and Gray comes in for the rebound. But that foul will go against Ari Gray, and that's now her second foul. And we're still in the first quarter, Matt.
Yeah, she's got to be careful. And, you know, I love her aggressiveness. She's crashing the boards. She knows that's part of her responsibility to this team, but she's also got to be smart and know that for this team to be successful, she has to be on the floor.
Gray will check out as Townsend comes back in. And you can see Gray visibly frustrated with herself over there. She knows that those two fouls, she'll have to sit here probably for a significant portion of the rest of this first half.
And with that being the fifth foul, we're now into the bonus, and that's why St. John's is going to the line here. Referee's just making sure everybody's on the same page. You know, if I'm Xavier, Paul, and I've missed the amount of open looks that I've had, you know, they're 4 for 8 right now. They easily could be 6 for 8, but they're only down 5.
Yep.
I'm feeling pretty good right now if I'm Xavier, realizing, hey, we're in this ball game.
Leilani Correa hits her first free throw. 86% free throw shooter, and what a pleasant surprise Correa has been for this St. John's team this year. It's the only Big East player with multiple 30-point games. She had 33 against Army, 33 against Fairfield. Hits a second free throw, but maybe shouldn't say a surprise because one of a highly touted recruiting class, an ESPNW top 10 impact freshman. She's come onto the scene strong. Townsend turns the ball over. Unique Drake back the other way. Beautiful defensive play by Aaliyah Dunham, who can now push. 2-on-1 for the Musketeers. Dumps it off to Gross, who goes underneath. One dribble to the hoop. And here comes St. John's, and Bailey again has it stripped by Dunham. And again, Xavier gets it back. Dunham. How about that sequence of events for Aaliyah Dunham?
Bringing the juice. First and foremost, Aaliyah Dunham's timing and IQ on the offensive end, holding it until the last possible second to dish it off to Carrie Gross, and then the presence of mind to get back in transition defense, get her hand into the cookie jar and create a play for her team.
I mean, to swipe that once is hard enough against this kind of competition, but to do it twice on back-to-back plays, impressive stuff from Dunham. Now Townsend again going to work on the right block. Her shot off the front of the rim. Sarah Leyendecker went in for the rebound. Leyendecker into the game now, and there's Dunham again with a deflection. This time St. John's will retain possession. Red Storm with a 5-point lead.
Here's what I love about Aaliyah Dunham. She's played a lot of minutes for this Xavier program over the years, and each year has gotten a little bit better, but now this year, according to Mel Moore, has become the glue of this program on the rebound.
Beautiful feed underneath, but St. John's unable to finish. Red Storm averaging over 77 points a game. That's second in the Big East as Carrie Gross misses her mid-range pull-up. Already 17 points here with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. St. John's last year finished tied for 8th in the league, but the Red Storm, the resurgence here for this program, picked to finish 2nd this year in the preseason poll. Great move, creating space again. Hoppy, who is so adept at that step back.
She's a big reason why this team is picked as high as they are, but the other thing that you touched on earlier is their depth, and that's something they didn't have last year. You know, by the end of the season, they were practicing once or twice a week because of how depleted the roster was. It's nice to coach when you got a full complement of players.
Run some 5-on-5 in practice. Sarah Leyendecker comes in and ties possession up. Some more substitutions in for St. John's. Courtney Prenger back in for the Musketeers. Emma Nolan in for the Red Storm. But yeah, depth allowed them to play that up-tempo style of offense that Coach Tartamella, in his 8th season, wanted to play this year. Dunham nearly turns it over, was deflected, goes into the back court. Gross setting up the offense for the Musketeers.
Gotta go quick here.
3 on the shot clock. Dunham. She's off to the left and St. John's controls the board. Correa quickly the other way. Matt, you can tell St. John's comes quick, and if they're cut off, they reset back up top, but they never lose pace in this offense. They found the backcourt. Dunham found by Emma Nolan, and she threw the outlet pass up the way to Morgan Sharps. St. John's will take the ball across the timeline. They can't get that fast break opportunity. They reset back up, but ball really isn't hitting the floor much, being rotated as fast as possible.
And on the offensive end for Xavier, they got to get a bucket here.
8-point deficit with under 40 seconds left in the first quarter.
And 1 for the last 5, Paul, shooting.
And there's a travel by Wasselson. And now St. John's can essentially hold for the final shot. 1.7 second difference. And that's exactly what they'll do.
Hoppy's been the hot hand early, shooting 50% from the floor. I'm expecting something off the ball for her.
Likely see the offense go here with 8 or 9 seconds. There we go, back to England.
There it is.
Into the middle for Nolan, outside for Correa. England, and I don't think she realized the difference between the shot and the game clock. Didn't get the shot off.
And the first look wasn't there. It was Hoppy coming around on the baseline off an off-ball screen, and Xavier stepped out in the passing lane really well.
So 1 second for Xavier, full court pressure for St. John's. Home run pass up to Dunham. It's tipped at midcourt, no shot. And at the end of 1, St. John's with an 8-point lead. Well, it was an entertaining first quarter, and we'll be back for quarter number 2, 2012, St. John's on the Big East Digital Network.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
All right, we gotta be all in, all right? We gotta make sure we play with great passion. You have felt each other and helped each other and allowed yourselves to be helped with that, all right? We've got a great opportunity to do that today.
This is who we are.
When you look to your left and you see your sister over there, you help her. Because what we are one. Let's bring it.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah!
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Big East Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
I'm from Chicago. Cleveland.
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
Hartford.
Colorado, Oklahoma,
Thailand. Norway. Cameroon.
and I chose
Xavier University.
for business, chemical science,
Occupational therapy.
philosophy, politics, and the public.
Computer science.
Because it felt like home.
I knew I would be welcome.
Because they take care of veterans.
I felt connected to the campus, to the people.
The sports.
I came here to be a musketeer. And now, I am.
I am.
All for one.
Ready for quarter number 2 here on the Big East Digital Network. Paul Fritchner, Matt Schumacher with you as we get started in Big East play. As we wrap up the decade, 2019. Xavier shooting at 38%, and St. John's at a cool 50% to get things started here.
And for Xavier closing out the first quarter, Paul, one for their final 5, I should say. They got some good looks in that first quarter, and the theme was the inability to finish around the rim, and that's really been the theme over the first 11 games. And I think it really just comes down to composure. This is a team that, for much of last year, was not used to being in games where every shot mattered. This year it does because they played so much better here in 2019.
KB finishing at the rim. Start the second quarter. Here's Morgan Sharps for the Musketeers. Dunham underneath the Prenger, turn around, fired up off to the right, and England will push it up the way. Secondary break for the Red Storm. Now England settling things down, calling out the offense for St. John's into the middle of the paint. KB loses the ball. Wasselson fighting for it. 8 on the shot clock. Drive a floater off to the right by Alston. Offensive board again. Can't finish, and Wasselson for the Musketeers now. Morgan Sharps for 3. She's shooting at 40% from long range. Morgan Sharps bringing the Musketeers within 7.
Well, Xavier's three-point shot volume is down, but their accuracy is up, and that's what you love to see. That's when you know your program's trending in the right direction, becoming more efficient offensively.
There's again the feed into the middle of the lane. Correa, tough drive to the hoop. Shot blocked by Sarah Leyendecker. And a foul on the rebound against St. John's. Sarah Leyendecker at that tall frame right in the middle of the lane, altering that shot for the Musketeers. 6'4", redshirt sophomore, right up the road in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, about 40 minutes from here. Leah Dunham continuing to run the point for the Musketeers. Has not come out yet. And underneath, Leyendecker on the other side for Xavier. Now it's only a 5-point deficit.
Had to have that one.
Beautiful finish from Leyendecker on the left side of the hoop.
She gives them another option in the post. Even though she's averaging less than 3 points per game, maybe this is the opportunity she's been looking for.
Alston losing her footing briefly. Katie She traveled. Few travels here so far in this game, Matt. Replay here, shuffling her feet. She went to take that step into the lane. Musketeers kind of conceding the middle of the lane on defense right now as St. John's can get that entry pass right around the Big East logo, but then Xavier quickly collapsing to cut off any sort of shot or assist opportunity. Leyendecker underneath. Pranger, left side, rolling off the rim. And another tough one for the Musketeers is Alston in transition. No look pass to Correa. Beautiful feed. No, Leyendecker gets the rebound. But now Dunham will settle things down for Xavier. Into the corner. Free ball for Xavier off the right side of the rim. Rebound St. John's. Not a lot falling right now for either team as Correa throws up a wild shot. Leyendecker again with the board. Back and forth we go. Wasselson for three, no. Wasselson, rebound tipped around. St. John's has it. And a timeout by the Red Storm. Coach Tartamella to give his team time to set things up and take a deep breath. And we'll take a deep breath on the Big East Digital Network.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university. We're at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
We're all in, all together. Great voices right at the start, great energy. We're getting excited about what we do, all right? You know how together you are. You know how hard you're gonna work, but you also know how good you are. Let's go show them. 1, 2, 3. Together!
This is our time.
When we bring it together and we all locked in, we coming back in this locker room with a victory.
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
St. John's talking things over here with 6:31 left in the second quarter. We take a look at the upcoming schedule for this Red Storm team here today versus Xavier in Cincinnati. Then they'll go to Butler right up I-74 on Tuesday. That'll be on the Big East Digital Network. For a few days off, they take on the Wildcats from Villanova. St. John's returning home for a couple games. The Wildcats and the Bulldogs from Georgetown, the Hoyas from Georgetown. Butler, the Bulldogs this Tuesday. Butler, Villanova, and Georgetown upcoming for St. John's. To get things started here in Cincinnati.
Great extra pass.
Finding the extra pass into the corner, Matt Schumacher. That's Wadasha Hoppy. And that pass opening up a wide open three for Hoppy. Shooting it from 40% from long range. Hoppy's such a lethal threat from all over the court. Dunham trying to answer. She's short on her three from the right wing.
And that's not a shot that Xavier needed there. You know, they may be down right now, but the last 3 or 4 trips down the floor, Paul, they've all been three-point shots. Now, some of those you can live with because it's Lauren Wasselson.
There's again that kick into the corner. Drive into the middle of the lane, and Dunham seems to be everywhere at all times, coming in for the steal. Very Gross. She steps into a long two. Xavier right now, they seem to continually get it to within 5 or 7 points. Right now it's 6. Can't cut it much farther than that. Credit to the Red Storm for their ability to keep things where they are. In the corner, England driving to the bucket, to the left side. Oh, what a roll with the left hand. England, a tough one through traffic.
Just so long and crafty. Has the ability to score in a lot of different ways.
Courtney Pranger fighting for position down low. Gross driving to the bucket. Cut off outside for Pranger. Tipped around, Leyendecker underneath. She's pushed to the ground. The ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by Leyendecker. Wasselson re-enters for Carrie Gross. Xavier in the non-conference, Matt. Non-conference opponents finished with a 79-40 combined record. 10 of the 11 teams that Xavier played right now are 500 or greater. That's the 28th best non-conference schedule in the country. So certainly didn't shy away from a test. England into the lane, outside for Alston. 6 on the shot clock. England has to go. Extra pass to Alston. Off the back of the rim. Farley with the rebound. Fight underneath and a jump ball. Possession will go the way of the Musketeers. But a strong schedule for Xavier is a little bit different than maybe what the Musketeers have seen over the last few years, where they enter conference play with several wins under their belt, but maybe not against the strongest competition, whereas this year they went out and played those tough teams. There's Leyendecker for 3, and she finds the bottom of the net.
And already 5 points this afternoon for a freshman who's averaging under 3 per game. And again, she's got an opportunity today with Gray on the bench early with 2 fouls.
Alston navigating her way through traffic. Farley at the free throw line. Good find underneath, and the roll for Kadeja Bailey. 3 minutes left before the half. St. John's holding their lead at 7. Xavier 9 for 23 from deep. Taking a lot of three-point shots, but not here as Leyendecker spins through the lane. And she's already, Matt, continuing to up that point total. Sarah Leyendecker having a strong few minutes here. Alston cut off by 3 Musketeers on defense. And England pulling it out, 7 on the shot clock. England been out of control. The pass underneath to Farley. Wasselson knocking it away, and Leyendecker with 1 on the shot clock. Unable to save it. St. John's won't be able to dribble here. We'll have to draw something up out of this inbound. Get a shot off right away. Inbound shot off the right side of the rim, but an offensive rebound. Keep the possession alive. Hoppy for 3. Rolls around, no, and Leyendecker controls for the Musketeers.
St. John's has really won the battle on the glass so far this afternoon. 6 offensive rebounds, but they've only been able to capitalize twice. That's great pressure in the transition game. Bailey going right to the hoop and drawing 2.
Ayanna Townsend calling for the foul. Tried to slide in, but a blocking foul called on Townsend. Sends Kadeja Bailey to the line, a 60% free throw shooter. She had a season-high 10 rebounds versus Fairfield, St. John's last game. And she's off with the first free throw. It's the second to fall, and now Xavier, with under 2 minutes to play, can continue chipping away at that St. John's lead. It's right around where it's been all game, 6 points.
If you're Xavier here, just don't settle. Even if you got to run the shot clock all the way down to 0, don't settle.
Great
Good open look.
No look pass from Sharps to Ross, and the 3-ball falls for Deja Ross, and the lead down to 3. St. John's going a little cold here from the field. Correa for 3, and she gets it to fall. Correa ending the drought and pushing the lead back to 6.
That's a special freshman right there, stepping up and making a big shot when she can feel the game starting to get away from St. John's a little bit.
Hesitation move for Dunham off the glass.
That was nasty. Dunham, a little hesitation.
What a move for Aaliyah Dunham. Pass underneath, Correa. The bucket and the foul. Correa through contact.
I love these two teams going back and forth, Paul. Every time we've seen a big 3 or a big transition bucket, the other team has come back and responded. How about this look from Kadeja Bailey? Dropping a dime in the bucket and Correa making the finish. And Leilani Correa averaging 15 points a game. She is a legit candidate for Big East Freshman of the Year.
Already 3-time Big East Player of the Week. She's only the 3rd player with multiple 30-point games in program history, the first since 1995. She has 2 this season. As quickly as Xavier's lead was down to 3, back up to 6 for St. John's. Dunham, under 30 to play in the second quarter. 8 on the shot clock. Dunham. Alston with 4 to go before the break. 1 to go. A shot at the buzzer for Bailey. No. And at the half, St. John's with a 6-point lead, 35-29, back and forth, an entertaining first half in Cincinnati, Matt.
I'm from Chicago, Cleveland,
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
Hartford,
Colorado, Oklahoma,
Thailand, Norway, Cameroon.
and I chose
Xavier University.
for business, chemical science,
Occupational therapy,
philosophy, politics, and the public.
computer science,
because it felt like home.
I knew I would be welcome.
Because they take care of veterans.
I felt connected to the campus, to the people.
The sports.
I came here to be a musketeer, and now I am.
I am.
I am.
All for one.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university, we're at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
Back on the Big East Digital Network here from Cincinnati, Xavier and St. John's locked in a tight one. St. John's with a 6-point lead, and this seems to be the story of Xavier's season, kind of summed up in that first half, Matt, where they got so close, but they could never regain the lead after that early lead they had to start the game. But also this September, 30 Big East women's basketball student athletes from across the conference's 10 member schools enjoyed an interactive educational and professional development weekend in Midtown Manhattan. The Big East Digital Network was on hand to capture sights and sounds from the 4th annual Big East Transition Game event.
For the 4th straight year, Big East women's basketball came together for a weekend in the Big Apple to focus on the transition after college. The conference welcomed in 30 upperclassmen from across all 10 schools into New York City for the annual Transition Game program.
It's actually very cool because a lot of people that we play against on the court, getting to them now, it's like, wow, it's a total different person.
I mean, it's really an unbelievable resource for these student athletes to be able to hear from professionals, to learn life skills, to talk about, job hunting, resume building. I think it really sets the Big East apart.
The weekend focused on life after college, both on and off the court, featuring several leaders in the industry. Big East Commissioner Val Ackerman, Executive Director of the WNBA Players Association, Terry Jackson, Fox Sports analyst Monica McNutt, as well as mental health expert Dr. Alfie M. Breland Noble.
I love how they emphasize the mental health. I think there's such a demand for just the talk to be happening and the conversation. It goes under the rug a little bit, especially with female athletes. It's hard to find a balance sometimes between sports, school, family life, and even just other stuff going on in life.
For the 30 Big East Women's Hoops student athletes, this program can have unlimited mileage and is an opportunity they salvage.
I'm the type of person that wants answers. So I'm already like, where's my internship coming from? What are you gonna do, Brianna? Time's running out. And this definitely made me take a deep breath. It's okay that you don't have everything figured out, but at least you know what you're passionate about, and you know that you have all these great skills that basketball has taught you, and more that's to come because I'm only a junior. So it just gave me confidence to keep doing what I'm doing, keep being headstrong, and that things are gonna work out for me.
It was very motivating. It gave you a lot of insight from different perspectives, whether it's coaching, officials, owning your own business. It shows a lot that they care about after basketball. I know I talked to a lot of people that they don't have this, and I'm very grateful that our conference has this for us.
Sunday sessions focused on elevator speeches, resume building, and mock interviews. All of this programming for one goal: to help Big East upperclassmen transition for life after the game.
The Big East is ahead of the curve. I mean, we even mentioned it on the panel in terms of the focus on mental health for athletes, but I think part of mental health has to do with uncertainty. And so to take a small part of the uncertainty that comes with graduation and kind of grasp it and look at it in its face and not make it the beast that it can be because it's unknown, but to have conversations and to meet people who want to be tangible resources to help these young ladies navigate the next steps. I mean, the Big East is ahead in the game. More conferences need to get like the Big East.
Without a doubt, I think our coaches actually use this as a recruiting tool because it is a special program that really no other conference is emulating right now. And I think it does set us apart in terms of how we're pouring into the student athletes.
Big East is something special. I knew that when I was a student, though I wasn't a student athlete, they take care of their own. And one of the things that I heard on the event today was how special this family is and what a family setting is. And so it was rewarding to be a part of it. The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
Back on the Big East Digital Network, presented by SoFi. Xavier trailing St. John's by 6 right now. St. John's shooting at 43% from the field. Xavier at 44%, Matt. So Xavier actually with the edge from the field. But St. John's just been a little more efficient with the shots they've taken. They've hit some shots from the line. Xavier 12 for 27. St. John's 13 for 30. But St. John's has really done a lot in transition to keep Xavier on their heels defensively.
Well, they've also created extra possessions for themselves as well. 7 offensive rebounds for St. John's compared to just 1 for Xavier. Now, credit the Musketeers, Paul. They didn't allow St. John's to capitalize on all of those, and that's why it's a 6-point game. I think Xavier has a lot to build on going into the next half. Boy, but Quidasha Hoppy was just so good in that first half for St. John's. You know, I'm intrigued by the play of Leyendecker. 7 points as a freshman. She's averaging 2.8 per game. That was one of the nifty moves she had in the low block earlier. Today could perhaps be her coming out party.
And Sarah Leyendecker, impressive start for her. She's 3 for 3 from the field in 12 minutes of action for the Musketeers. But for Xavier, it's just something that they have to control here in the second half. Can't let the game get away from them, trailing by 6. They've gotten close. They got within 3. But can they get over the hump and finally get back to tie or take the lead here? That's a storyline here in this second half.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we talked with Mel Moore going into this game, Paul, and she talked about the fact that her team feels like they've been right there in a lot of the games that they've played this year. Florida is one that comes to mind for me. It was a 3-point game. Cincinnati was a 6 or 7 point game. You can point to a few possessions here or there throughout the course of Xavier's season where you say, if we could have just capitalized here, this would have been a different outcome. They are within striking distance now against one of the best teams in the Big East Conference. How do they execute down the stretch?
And Xavier actually had the lead in the crosstown shootout against Cincinnati with just about 3 minutes remaining. The Bearcats closed strong in that game. Can the Musketeers close strong? And St. John's, can they start Big East play with a victory after an 8th place finish last year? Well, we'll be back for more here at the halftime break. St. John's on top of Xavier in Cincinnati.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university. We are at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
I'm from Chicago, Cleveland,
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
Hartford,
Colorado, Oklahoma,
Thailand, Norway, Cameroon.
and I chose
I chose Xavier University.
for business, chemical science,
Occupational therapy,
philosophy, politics, and the public.
computer science.
Because it felt like home.
I knew I would be welcome.
Because they take care of veterans.
I felt connected to the campus, to the people.
The sports.
I came here to be a Musketeer, and now
And now,
I am.
I am.
I am.
All for one.
St. John's on top of Xavier by 6 with 6 minutes remaining here in our halftime break. St. John's shooting 4 for 13 from downtown. Xavier at 4 for 12, but maybe the difference, St. John's 5 for 7 from the free throw line. Xavier's only shot 2 free throws and made one of them. St. John's earning some points from the charity stripe.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding that they can push the pace against the Xavier team that's been caught off guard a couple times in the transition defense. But as you take a look at these stats, Paul, one thing that really jumps out to me is the three-point shooting. It's what has saved Xavier when they've missed a couple of those bunnies around the rim. Who would have thought that this team would shoot less threes than last year but connect on more of them?
Yep.
It's really been a great change to see, and it's one of the many changes that we are seeing Mel Moore make with this program.
A fairly clean game too, Matt. Only 6 turnovers for St. John's and even less, just 4 for the Musketeers. But the rebounding, you hit on it before we went to break. 21 rebounds to Xavier's 12. And that's a huge difference. A lot of offensive rebounds too for St. John's. I mean, 7-1. That's just something that Xavier can't allow to happen in the second half if they want to stay in this game, because eventually the stats will work themselves out.
And especially against the St. John's team who is last in the Big East in rebound margin at -4. It's an area that they have not been very strong at this season, although it's been an area of emphasis over the last 2 weeks for Joe Tardamella and his staff. I think the key going into this half for Xavier is, can Ariana Gray stay out of foul trouble? We didn't see her at all in the second quarter, and yet Xavier is within a couple of possessions. They get her back and get her going offensively. We've got a ball game brewing here in Cintas Center.
Yeah, we do. Ariana Gray with 2 fouls early on. She'll be back in the second half, but I'll tell you what, a 6-point lead in the Big East, that's not a whole lot. We know what this conference is capable of. We know what these teams are capable of, and we'll see more of that here in the second half from the Cintas Center. We'll be back after this.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
Stand up stronger. I got the power, gonna raise it up. So high, we're shining brighter. We got the power, gonna raise it up. We got the power, gonna raise it up. We're running ahead, and we got to raise it up.
We're all in, all together. Great voices right at the start, great energy. We're getting excited about what we do, all right? You know how together you are. You know how hard you're going to work, but you also know how good you are. Let's go, Storm. 1, 2, 3.
Together!
This is our time.
When we bring it together and we all locked in, we coming back in this locker room with a victory.
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
I'm from Chicago,
Cleveland,
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
Hartford,
Colorado, Oklahoma,
Thailand, Norway, Cameroon.
and I chose
I chose Xavier University.
for business, chemical science,
Occupational therapy,
philosophy, politics, and the public.
computer science.
Because it felt like home.
I knew I would be welcome.
because they take care of veterans.
I felt connected to the campus, to the people.
The sports.
I came here to be a musketeer, and now
And now,
I am.
I am.
I am.
All for one.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university. We're at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
St. John's and Xavier getting ready for the second half on the Big East Digital Network. St. John's 35, Xavier 29. And this team statistically, this game statistically has been just about as even as you can set it. Both teams with 12 points in the paint. St. John's shooting 43%, Xavier at 44%. Xavier and St. John's going toe-to-toe right now in pretty much every aspect of the game. The rebounding, one difference. The St. John's has had a significant edge, and the points in the paint, the fast break points, Xavier, as fast as St. John's plays and the up-tempo style of their offense, Xavier actually outscoring St. John's in the fast break 7-3 this afternoon.
St. John's has been exceptionally efficient in the half court. And when they've been clicking, you can see that there's just another gear with this team. The extra pass, the off-the-ball movement, some screen action on the low post. I'll be interested to see what kind of sets we see from them here early in the second half.
St. John's going from left to right now on your screen. A quick three. Can't find the bottom of the net for Alicia Cabey. And Ariana Gray, who we didn't see at all in the second quarter, got 2 early fouls in this game. She's back out on the court for the Musketeers. Xavier's best player, averaging a double-double. Deja Ross. The ball now going down to Gray. And you can see it. First possession for Xavier. Go right to her. And they find her for 2.
I just love Ari Gray's game. So dynamic, and she continues to add to it. And the coaching staff is challenging her. And Mel Moore said, look, I'm tough on Ari Gray. because she has aspirations to play in the WNBA, and she has the potential to get there.
Dasha Hoppy, 10 points in the first half. Alston to the hoop. She's fouled. Alston, as much as she handled the ball, took 3 shots in the first half, didn't make any of them. Alston going in to Sarah Leyendecker, who herself had a nice first half, 7 points on 3 of 3 shooting.
Alyssa Alston has been a bit of an enigma for this St. John's coaching staff through the first third of the season. She was somebody who could be counted on to score a lot of points in her time at Ole Miss in the SEC, a very good conference, but hasn't quite found her footing yet in Queens. And part of that is just the depth of the St. John's team. She's still figuring out where she fits in the offensive scheme. But Joe Tartamella joked with us and said, you know what, I might just give her the ball on the wing and let her go to work. And that's exactly what she did there, drawing 2 shots.
Alston second, rolls through, and now some full court pressure from St. John's. Gray inbounding to Leyendecker. Nearly a turnover. Gray keeps it, and she'll just bring it up herself. Musketeers trailing by 6, and there's Alston sneaking in behind Gray and taking it away, but a jump ball called before the steal.
How do they get Ari Gray involved here early on? Sat the entire 10 minutes of the second quarter. She's got fresh legs, but she also needs to get worked into the offense here.
Dunham up top to Gray, 3 on the shot clock. Gray to the bucket. Right hand, left side, no. Deja Ross misses the bunny. And St. John's the rebound. Even numbers for the Red Storm. Oh, what a pass. What a pass from Hoppy to set up the bucket by Alston.
And how about the finish from Alyssa Alston? Now with 4 quick points the last 2 times down the floor, she's gotten the buckets for St. John's.
Here's Leyendecker, and Leyendecker turns it over. England the other way with it, and she lays it in. Timeout taken by Xavier as the lead has ballooned to 10 through the first 2:04 of the third quarter.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was gonna spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
I'm from Chicago, Cleveland,
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
Hartford,
Colorado, Oklahoma,
Thailand, Norway, Cameroon.
and I chose
I chose Xavier University.
for business, chemical science,
Occupational therapy,
philosophy, politics, and the public.
computer science.
Because it felt like home.
I knew I would be welcome.
Because they take care of veterans.
I felt connected to the campus, to the people.
The sports.
I came here to be a musketeer, and now
And now,
I am.
I am.
I am.
All for one.
All right, we gotta be all in, all right? We gotta make sure we play with great passion. You have felt each other and helped each other and allowed yourselves to be helped with that, all right? We've got a great opportunity to do that today.
This is who we are.
When you look to your left and you see your sister over there, you help her. Because what we are one. Let's bring it.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah!
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Big East Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
Well, it was a quick little 4-0 run for St. John's after a steal that allowed the Red Storm now to balloon that lead up to 10, 41-31 early on in this third quarter.
This is where Aaliyah Dunham, who has been identified as a glue player in this program by Melanie Moore, this is where she has to step up and take control of this offense as the point guard, as one of the veterans on this Musketeers team. They go as she goes, in a sense.
Gray trying to break this full court pressure. Lion Decker finds Ross for three. Off the rim, no. Gray, a floater, yes.
Big time extra chance for Xavier right there.
And you can tell, Matt, how much they miss Gray in that second quarter. Maybe how different the score would look or what this game would look like as a whole had Gray been able to play without those fouls. But that's something that Xavier has needed to work on. Alston, another hesitation move, and Lion Decker, the swat from behind, called for the foul.
And Joe Tardamella loves that out of Alyssa Alston. He said, look, we've been looking for ways to get her the basketball in a scoring situation, and this is just Alston doing it all herself, but doing it smartly, taking it to the paint and going right at Xavier's bigs.
Alston at 82%, redshirt senior from New Haven, Connecticut.
And transferred to come back home. Was down in the SEC, was having a lot of success at Ole Miss, but wanted to come back home, wanted to play for Joe Tardamella at St. John's. And she just adds another dynamic of speed to an already extremely athletic group of five on the floor for St. John's.
Ari Gray a bit out of control, handling the basketball. Now a foul on Lauren Wasselson. Xavier lost it.
And that's all the peskiness of Alston right here, staying with it. She's in her bag right now, Paul. Doing it on both sides of the floor.
She is. 7 minutes left in this third quarter. A 9-point lead for the Red Storm. They can add on to it with the basketball. Here's Alston. Oh, what a finish from the right side. Alston continuing her hot stretch. She has 7 now for the Red Storm. Dunham, free throw line jumper, front rim, back rim, no. Lion Decker the board and the putback.
It's been the Achilles heel for St. John's this year, rebounding, and another big-time offensive board for Lion Decker.
Swinging the ball around St. John's. And a three ball off the left side of the rim from Emma Nolan. 9-point lead for St. John's. Dunham slowing things down for Xavier. Looking to break that 10-game losing streak. Xavier hasn't won since the season opener back in early November.
Great backdoor cut from Dunham. How about the finish?
And the foul from Aaliyah Dunham, who, to your point, Matt, needs to continue her impressive afternoon.
This is just textbook from Aaliyah Dunham. One bounce, draws the foul on the freshman Nolan, and has a chance to complete the three-piece. And that's a veteran play from somebody who's been in the program and played a lot of minutes.
There's Dunham from the free throw line today. Her first free throw of the afternoon. Only the third overall for Xavier. Now 2 for 3 from the stripe. Deanna England into the corner it goes. 3-ball on the way. And you can't leave her open. Quinasha Hoppy now with 13 points. Dunham asking for a screen from Gray. Dunham to the bucket, has it swatted away by Raven Farley. First block of the afternoon for St. John's.
What a luxury it is to have a 6'4" shot stopper on the floor, and Raven Farley. It's something that St. John's did not have last year. Made her debut against Fairfield, only played 11 minutes, and she's still getting her feet under her, but she's played a lot of important minutes this afternoon here at Xavier.
Off the inbound pass, great offense. Gray to the bucket, couldn't finish. She'll shoot a couple. But that inbound play set up so nicely for Ariana Gray.
And this is where Gray needs to excel this year. She got to the line a lot last season, has struggled at the free throw line, That's been one area of weakness for a player who otherwise has been exceptional.
And just a shade under 48% from the free throw line this year, hits the first. So whereas Xavier only got to the line once in the first half, already been twice here in the third quarter.
That's big time. Shooting less than 50% from the floor. Her team needs 2 points. She knocks them both down.
England outside to Hoppy. Pass into the corner for Correa, no, and there's Gray with the rebound. No numbers for the Musketeers, but Wasselson for three has it blocked by Correa. Oh, it is so tough to block a three, and Wasselson went into it. Correa timed it perfectly.
Hey, there's a reason she's been Big East Freshman of the Week 3 times already this year. Not just a scorer.
Gray. Leyendecker. And she knocks it down from the baseline. Lead down to 5 for St. John's. Little run for Xavier.
How about Leyendecker, averaging 2.8 a game and now leads all Musketeers with 11.
Has not missed from the field, 5 for 5, Sarah Leyendecker. Raven Farley working against 2 Musketeers. She finishes through contact. Morgan Sharps, great defense from Correa. Sharps driving the baseline. Underneath the hoop, kicks out Ross. Ross has the size advantage here, spins into the lane, floats it up, no, gets her own rebound, put back, no. And a rebound by Correa. That's the second missed layup for Deja Ross as England flies down the lane. Blinding speed from England for 2.
The flash, getting straight to the cup, and now on the other side, deflecting a pass.
The turnover. And an easy 2 for Kadesha Bailey. And the lead now up to 11.
It's just demoralizing as an opponent. You start to get back into the game, you get it within a couple possessions, but with their speed and their finishing ability around the rim, St. John's does not let possessions like this go empty. England coast to coast.
Some sauce on that one. St. John's by 11.
My parents never taught me anything about managing money.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
We just decided we didn't want debt any longer.
I didn't realize how easy investing could be.
I'm picking companies that I believe in. I think SoFi Money is amazing.
Thank you, SoFi.
SoFi, thank you. We love you.
We're all in, all together. Great voices right at the start, great energy. We're getting excited about what we do, all right? You know how together you are. You know how hard you're going to work, but you also know how good you are. Let's go, Storm. 1, 2, 3.
Together!
This is our time.
When we bring it together and we all locked in, we coming back in this locker room with a victory.
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
I'm from Chicago, Cleveland,
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
Hartford,
Colorado, Oklahoma, Thailand,
Norway, Cameroon.
and I chose
Xavier University.
for business, chemical science,
Occupational therapy,
philosophy, politics, and the public.
computer science. Because it felt like home.
I knew I would be welcome.
Because they take care of veterans.
I felt connected to the campus, to the people.
The sports.
I came here to be a Musketeer, and now I am.
I am. All for one.
Well, as fast as Xavier was trying to get back into the game, St. John's put a stop to that in a big way and now has stretched the lead to 11. And what a game, back and forth it has been as you look at Xavier's upcoming schedule. Just 2 days from now will be Seton Hall here at the Cintas Center in Georgetown Xavier welcoming in Butler on January 4th. And then traveling to Georgetown. So 3 straight home games for Xavier to open up Big East play.
That helps, especially coming off a 1-10 record in the non-conference. But, you know, I loved Melanie Moore's positivity and her perspective on the whole thing. When you look at the record, okay, maybe you think this team is not growing the way that you would expect them to under a new head coach. But then you start to talk to other people around the program, and she even mentioned the referees coming up to her after games, talking about how much tougher, how much more effort, how much more together they are seeing from the Xavier team under the new coaching staff. Those are the things that you don't see in the score line that indicate this program is on the way up.
An alley-oop, tight pass to Leilani Correa underneath the hoop. And Correa, the athletic finish, lead up to 11 for St. John's. Gray to the bucket. Yes, Ariana Gray. Now with 14 points. Averaging over 10 rebounds. She only has 3 right now. There's Correa for 3. No. Rebound Sharps. Dunham to Gross. Sharps for 3. No, and the rebound off the hand of the Red Storm. But again, a quick 3 from Xavier. You want the open look. Sharps open. She took it, but early on in the shot clock there in that possession. Shot clock resetting to 20. Good find underneath to Ariana Gray off the inbound pass, and Gray now up to 16.
She is one of the best in the league, coming off a screen and scoring in the post on an inbounds pass. She takes the tightest corner possible, physical, aggressive, hard-nosed, getting to the cup.
Alicia Cavey trying to go across the paint, stolen by Sharps. To Dunham for 3. Too strong. Dunham didn't set her feet there. She was still moving forward as she took that shot. And a deep breath from Tiana England. The redshirt junior from Connecticut, firing it into the paint. Turnaround jumper. Too strong. Gray the rebound. And Dunham unable to get it done. And Hoppy left all alone for 2. Under 2 to play here. Xavier's got to get it in. Nobody came to get the ball. Gray into Dunham, and you can see Gray right now maybe a little tired. The pace of this game. Gray asking for the basketball. They carry Gross. Looking to get to the hoop, and she's fouled. England visibly frustrated after that call. Sarah Leyendecker will return for the Musketeers alongside Alyssa Alston for the Red Storm. This is Gross's first time to the line this afternoon. Gross can cut it to 7 with her second. Xavier continues their strong afternoon from the line. 7 for 8 from the charity stripe. Make it 8 for 9 now after that free throw. They only took 2 in the first half. 7 here in the third quarter. Alston, a floater, yes.
She has come alive in this second half. Alston now with 9 points. She was very quiet in the first half, now starting to find her form.
Dunham looking to feed underneath to Leyendecker. Going across the lane, Leyendecker with the left hand, lost it on the way up. Farley with the rebound. Alston, she'll just say, oh, she missed the layup. Flew right by the defender. She took it to the hoop and unable to finish, uncharacteristic of how she's played today. Leyendecker. And she's fouled on the floor. But that's the 5th foul on the Red Storm. She'll put Xavier into the bonus. 2 shots for Sarah Leyendecker. The shot clock turned off. Leyendecker now up to 12 points. Second on the team in scoring this afternoon. Her and Gray the only 2 in double figures.
And a double-double for Leyendecker at that. 13 points, 10 boards. Coming out party for the freshman transfer from Akron.
Yeah, who averages 3.7 points a game and 2.6 rebounds a game. Leyendecker with those 2 free throws improves to 14 for 14 from the free throw line this season. Off balance shot somehow falls. Oh, what a shot for Alicia Cabey before the buzzer. What a shot from Cabey, falling away from the hoop to stretch the lead to 9. And we'll head to the 4th quarter. St. John's leading at 61-52. 1 quarter left. The Big East Digital Network.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university. We are at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
We're all in, all together. Great voices right at the start, great energy. We're getting excited about what we do, all right? You know how together you are. You know how hard you're gonna work, but you also know how good you are. Let's go show them. 1, 2, 3. Together!
This is our time.
When we bring it together and we all locked in, we coming back in this locker room with a victory.
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
Just ready for the 4th quarter of action here at the Cintas Center. St. John's has maintained this lead nearly the whole game. They've led for all but 17 seconds of this afternoon's affair. Xavier actually did outscore St. John 17-15 in the 2nd quarter, but it was that 20-12 first quarter that allowed St. John's the opportunity to get out to this lead from which they've never really looked back. But the breakout star of the day for the Musketeers, no doubt about it, has been Sarah Leyendecker. 5 for 6 from the field, good for 13 points and 10 rebounds. You can see Leyendecker there in the huddle. And she's taking a break, taking a seat as Xavier comes out of here and will look for their first win since the first game of the season, Matt.
Xavier just has not been able to get over that 2-possession hump. 6 points is right. 7 points has been right where the bubble has been, and they haven't been able to pop it. Can they do that here in the 4th quarter? They're certainly within striking distance. The way that Leyendecker has stepped up, they've now got a 2nd or 3rd scoring threat. You hope that Carrie Gross can knock in a few buckets as well. She's their 2nd leading scorer. But if you're St. John's, this is where you got to close the game. They are projected to be 2nd in the Big East and contend for a title. Great teams know how to finish. It's finishing time for the Red Storm.
Alyssa Alston has been a big reason as to why they've been able to maintain this lead. Alston waiting outside. Instead, Correa has it. She'll take the baseline jumper. Now the lead back to 11, which is the largest lead of the day for St. John's.
And another double-figure night for the freshman Correa.
Averaging about 15 points a game, Correa continues to impress this St. John coaching staff. Wasselson looking at Gray, feeding Gross. She'll attack the bucket, and she travels. Eighth turnover for the Musketeers. St. John's with 9 points off of those 8 turnovers. Correa left wide open in the middle of the lane.
Too easy. I mean, you've got to get a body in front of her, especially down double figures. You know how well she shoots the basketball. For her to catch and turn and not have a defender in her face, that's something certainly that Mel Moore will talk with her team about after this game's over.
Xavier is in dangerous territory right now. Can't let this slip even more. Gray, a deep two, no. And Farley, the rebound. St. John's content to take some time, and what an outstanding afternoon for St. John's here. If they can hold on to this lead, contributions from all over the court, 2 in double figures. Alston won away with 9 points. For Red Storm, making things happen.
Oh, and they've been much sharper in the second half too. And that's also something you want to see from your team. Can they make the in-game adjustments and execute those adjustments in the second half?
Gray driving the baseline, and an offensive foul on Ariana Gray. That's her 3rd foul. She did well in that 3rd quarter, coming in out of halftime with 2 fouls. She did well to keep it at 2 fouls. Lowering that shoulder, and she knew it right away. Maybe some visible frustration there from Ariana Gray. And when you've lost 10 games in a row, that was one thing Coach Moore was telling us. Gray gets the ball right back and then loses her glasses. But that was something that Coach Moore was telling us, Matt, where she feels for these players because she knows there's only so many different ways that she can say, hey, we're so close, or hey, can't you see how close we are, or hey, look, we're doing everything right, we're just not getting the win. It will pay off eventually, but right now it's just a matter of taking the lumps and what can they learn from it. That's just a tough message that Coach Moore has had to deliver time and again after these losses to her team. Decker finding Wasselson. Re-enters the game for Xavier, and Wasselson throws that entry pass to Prenger, who's fouled. First foul of the quarter on St. John's.
And Ari Gray is being tended to on the bench. I guess she got nicked up on the side of her face when the glasses came off. But before she can come back in, they have to take care of that. And so Xavier's playing without one of their best players right now.
Dunham turns it over to Alston, who finds Correa and misses the layup. Now Xavier back the other way. No numbers for the Musketeers. A push to Wasselson, fakes the 3, drive to the bucket, and a foul on Farley as Wasselson looked to attack. See Wasselson catching this pass, deciding not to take the 3 and instead drive to the bucket, and she can continue adding that to her game. That'll be a huge step in the right direction for Wasselson, who's already such a sharp 3-point shooter. But when you can drive with skill, that opens up those 3s later on. Wasselson makes the second as Ari Gray cleared to check back into the game for Sarah Leyendecker. Alston gets the handoff. Courtney Prenger slid in for the charge, but Prenger called for the block.
This is the 3rd time in the second half that Alston has taken the ball on the wing with a little miniature ball screen and gone straight to the rack. No east-west motion from Alston in this second half. It's all been downhill. And you gotta love that aggression if you're Joe Tardamella. This is what he's been waiting to see out of Alston. And now heading over to Butler, who right now is in a dogfight with Seton Hall. Heading over to Butler later in the week. They're going to want to see this for all 40 minutes from Alston.
Alston misses both free throws, trying to break into double figures. She has 9 points right now. Ranger surveying the floor. It's Gray. Off a screen, Ross for three. And she banks it in. Deja Ross. The lead down to 9. Xavier not out of it yet. 6:25 left in the game. The way Xavier's shot the ball from 3 this afternoon. There are a couple stops for Xavier. We get him right back into it. There's Alston missing the layup. Dunham facilitating the offense. Looking for Gray. Spinning. Good wall up. Alicia Caby. And now St. John's a bit out of control. Alston will settle things down. Under 6 to play. Alston going against Gray. Quick first step for 2.
It doesn't get much better than that. I don't know how you defend that any better than Ariana Gray did. Alston just hanging in the air for long enough to get it around Ari Gray, who's got a size advantage. You just look at that. Leaning back, floating it up, and Alston with the touch around the rack. That's something you cannot teach.
Now an 11-point lead again for St. John's. Alyssa Alston up to 11 points. 3 in double figures for the Red Storm. Ross along 2. An air ball. But Wasselson saves it to Gray. The floater. No, but she's fouled. That's the 3rd or 4th long 2 that Xavier has taken this afternoon. Not the highest percentage of shot. You could see Ross fading over to the left. Wasselson, right place, right time, and then Ari Gray through contact. Frustrated she didn't make the shot, but she'll earn herself a couple free throws. All right, 2 strong on the first. And the second, no good either for Gray. One-handed pass into the corner. And nothing but net for Quadasha Hoppy.
Smooth operator. Quadasha Hoppy, one of the best scorers in the conference, but the way she does it is what is most impressive. Knocked down a couple of corner threes, and that time using elite handles to get an open look.
Largest lead of the game for St. John's is 13. That's where it stands right now. Ball rolling into the backcourt and a turnover for the Musketeers. That's number 12. And we'll be back for the last 4:22 of this one. St. John's by 13 on the Big East Digital Network.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
Stand up stronger. I got the power, gonna raise it up. So high, we're shining brighter. We got the power, gonna raise it up. We got the power, gonna raise it up.
St. John's here in the fourth quarter, outscoring Xavier 8-4. Overall in the game, the 13-point lead. You can see the quarter breakdown there. Xavier winning the second quarter, but St. John's averaging about 77 points a game and Xavier scoring in the low 60s. Frankly, that's about where it's trending right now. Numbers don't lie. Ariana Gray for the Musketeers, leading the team in scoring with 16. Had foul trouble in the first half. St. John's with the ball out of the break. England, nifty step to the bucket. Ball last touched by the Red Storm. Xavier will have to go and go quickly. Four minutes remaining in this one. Xavier trailing by 13. St. John's has just kept a cushion at about 2 possessions the entire game until it's been expanded here more in the fourth quarter. But a turnover not doing themselves any favors. Xavier working against the clock right now. There's Farley. Correa. And the 3 ball on the way, no. Now Leyendecker and jumpstart things for Xavier. A look out from behind. Ball poked away and Xavier loses it. Outlet pass up the way to Correa.
That's great hustle from Cavey, not giving up on the play after she coughed it up on this side. And that's the mark of a good team. Somebody that does not quit on the play. And you know, we talked about the efficiency of St. John's in the first half, although I think if you talk to Joe Tartamella, they probably left a little bit to be desired. And yet here they are getting very, very close to that season average of just over 70 points a game.
Deja Ross floating it in for 2. Xavier within 11. Lauren Wasselson and Carrie Gross waiting to check in. And a turnover from the Red Storm gives it back to Xavier. A couple of threes and you never know what could happen. Send the sharpshooters Wasselson and Gross back into the game. Sharps and Ross check out. Leah Dunham, 5 points this afternoon. Dunham to Wasselson. Here's Gray. Gray working. Gray double team. And a jump ball. It'll stay on this end with the Musketeers. But Gray been able to get out of that double team. Wasselson was wide open in the corner. Shot clock stays at 15. Gray, Leyendecker now to Dunham. Now here's Gray, left wing. Gray hesitating. Throws up a prayer in the middle of the lane. Now Dunham, an offensive rebound, no. Wasselson secures the board. 3 possessions here for the Musketeers on this trip. Gross, 1 dribble. She picks up the dribble. Underneath to Leyendecker, who's been nearly automatic today. 6 for 7 from the field, 15 points.
Big time season high. Her previous was 9. And as we talked about, she's chipped in 11 boards as well. She's been huge for Xavier.
So Xavier getting it down to 9. It was 69-56. Xavier with a couple of buckets here. Got that 13-point lead down to 9. But they haven't had it within 9 points this quarter. With 22 seconds left in the third, Xavier had it within 7 points. But Matt, it hasn't been closer than 7 since well beyond the 5-minute mark of the third quarter. St. John's has done a very good job of keeping the Musketeers at bay throughout this game. Both teams with 15 points off of threes. free throw advantage to the Musketeers, 11-8, but inside the arc, 12-point edge to St. John's. 8-point edge in the paint. Xavier been strong off the bench though, 26 points off the bench to St. John's 22. Off balance shot for the Red Storm, offensive rebound by Farley, but she traveled it, she brought it down. Now here's Gray. Gray to the bucket and a foul.
Well, you gotta love the fight from this Xavier team. You know, that's one thing that Mel Moore talked to us about. She said, look, in rebuilding, or I guess building a new brand for the Xavier team, we said, what is your identity? And she said 40 minutes of fight. We want to be a team full of fighters. 40 minutes of hustle, heart, finishing plays. And, you know, there's probably a few plays here and there, especially down in the low block around the rim, where they could have finished a little bit better. But this is a different Xavier program, finishing games despite deficits throughout the entire 40 minutes.
Gray no good on the first. Free throw line has been a struggle for Gray all year. Here's the second. And the friendly roll. Xavier applies some full court pressure here. And Alston will break it with ease into the front court. 70 seconds remaining. Dunham on Alston. Goes right by her. Now Farley, free throw line jumper, too strong. Leyendecker the rebound. A minute left. Xavier trailing by 8. Gray attacking the bucket through contact. And the foul! This one not over yet for the Musketeers.
And it's a play like that that you see from Ari Gray and you say, she can play at the next level. There's some things that have to get cleaned up. Free throw shooting is one of those, but that's a play that a pro makes in the WNBA. And Ari Gray has the physical tools to get to the next level, and she's just brought her team within 2 possessions.
She cut it down to 5 with a free throw here. Gray, only a junior. Lead to 5. Tiana England is fouled from behind by Leah Dunham. Xavier still with 2 fouls. That was only their 3rd. So 2 more before the bonus.
You don't have to foul right away, but without any full court pressure from St. John, or from Xavier rather, Mel Moore trying to extend this game rather than letting time wind down.
England gets it in the backcourt. Here's Hoppy, and she's fouled by Aaliyah Dunham. Thought maybe Xavier might wait until St. John's got it across half court to foul. But like you said, Matt, just want to extend the game and make St. John's earn it from the line.
Hoppy's an 80% free throw shooter.
And she makes the first.
She's been automatic all afternoon. Closing in on 20 points.
If that was 18, this can make it 19. It does, but that free throw actually doesn't count. Raven Farley fell into the lane before the shot. Free throw waved off, so the lead stays at 6 points, which is huge because that keeps it at a 2-possession game. And with 48 seconds left, that's an eternity to knock down 2 threes for Xavier. Or really, frankly, I don't even think you need to take 2 threes this early on. And with 48 seconds left, the way Xavier's been able to attack the rim, let Gray get the ball and go to work.
Yeah, I think everybody in the gym knows. Well, first let's take a look at the lane violation here from Raven Farley. That's just a tough one for a player who hasn't played a lot of minutes yet this season. Just a rusty mistake. But for Xavier, I think you're absolutely right. You don't need a 3 at this point. There's still plenty of time, nearly 50 seconds on the clock. I think you go for a quick 2. If it's not there, then maybe your second option is a 3. But I believe that everybody in the gym probably knows option number 1 is Ari Gray. With the way that she's been able to get to the rack in the second half, you know, they put her on the free throw line a couple of times. She's been able to knock down some shots from the stripe. I think we're going to see some off-the-ball action from Ari Gray, try to get her in a favorable matchup underneath. And if it's not there, kick it out for a 3.
Both teams in the bonus. Xavier with 1 timeout remaining. St. John's with 2 to take. Lauren Wasselson inbounding. Sarah Leyendecker underneath. Here's Gray with 40 seconds. Gray to the bucket. Gray nearly gets it to fall, but St. John's the rebound. Alston wanted an intentional foul. But Ari Gray nearly getting that off-balance shot to somehow fall through the net.
Well, that play broke down a little bit for Xavier up top. I think Ari Gray was expecting a pick and roll, pick and pop situation, but St. John's didn't defend it the way that they were hoping, and so Aaliyah Dunham had to cough it up early, and it was well defended.
And the free throw off the mark for Alston. Second good. Now a timeout again taken by Coach Moore. This is Xavier's final timeout of the afternoon. Xavier trying to extend this game, trailing by 7. Add it down to 5. Now it's up to 7.
Xavier's had a lot of success on inbounds plays / taking it side out of bounds and giving the ball up top with Aaliyah Dunham, and then having some sort of action on the baseline coming off a screen or a double screen or something of that nature. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that. Maybe Ari Gray sets a down screen and that leaves her open in the post, but either way, I think we all know who the ball is going to again in this situation.
Wasselson inbounding. Right in front of her own bench. Wasselson to Dunham. 33 seconds. Dunham turning it over. Here's Correa. And she makes the layup to stretch it out to 9. And that might be it for this one, as Xavier will need to go quickly. Gray, an air ball on the mid-range shot, but Leyendecker, she's got something to say about it. Leyendecker now up to 17.
She has quietly put together an incredible game. 7 for 8 shooting, 17 points, 13 boards, a block and a steal thrown in as well, and she's played nearly 30 minutes for Xavier. Huge.
Leyendecker underneath. Farley called for the foul, and now Leyendecker, 2 for 2 from the line, has not missed a free throw this season. 14 for 14. Now a perfect 15 all. Alston with 15 seconds left. Xavier has to foul. 10 seconds. Xavier has to foul. Underneath to Correa for 2 with 7 seconds left. Xavier never fouled.
Lack of communication there from the Musketeers, and that just comes with this team getting used to playing with one another and getting more experience. But St. John's pulls out a bit of a nail biter at the end of this one. Joe Tardamella comes away with a round 1 victory against the Musketeers.
An impressive win for St. John's here this afternoon. The Red Storm improved to 8-4 overall. Xavier loses their 11th in a row. They fall to 1-11 on the season. We'll be back for more after this. St. John's over Xavier on the Big East Digital Network, presented by SoFi.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university. We're at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
The amount of student loan debt I have, I'm embarrassed to even say.
I felt like I was going to spend my whole adult life paying this off.
Thanks to SoFi, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
As of 12 p.m. today, I am debt-free.
We have no debt, we don't owe anybody anything, and it's fantastic.
We're all in, all together. Great voices right at the start, great energy. We're getting excited about what we do, all right? You know how together you are. You know how hard you're going to work, but you also know how good you are. Let's go show them. 1, 2, 3. Together!
This is our time.
When we bring it together and we all locked in, we coming back in this locker room with a victory.
That's the Big East way. The 2020 Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
Paul Fritschner, Matt Schumacher with you back on the Big East Digital Network, and we are joined now by Quidasha Hoppy, led the St. John's Red Storm with 18 points. And Quidasha, you guys took the lead early on in the game, and you really never looked back, never let it get closer than 5. How did you guys feel like you fared through that game and maintaining that lead?
You know, we just kept saying to ourselves, you know, keep going until the buzzer rings. That was our motto from the jump, so we just kept playing hard all day.
A lot of expectations for you guys this year. You're healthy, you're deep, you have a lot of talent from 1 through 9 or 10 on the bench. What's the mentality of this team? You just got your first Big East game under your belt, but now going forward, I got to imagine you guys feel really confident about what this team can do.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, we're deep, so our whole thing is when you're out there, put 100%, come out, and you can get right back in. So we just go hard, like I said, for 40 minutes.
You guys have really tried to play an up-tempo style of offense this year, and you could tell catching Xavier off guard. You did that a lot this afternoon, catching Xavier on their heels in transition. Did you feel like you executed that part of the game well?
Yeah, definitely. That's a key point in practice, taking the ball out fast, even if the other team has scored. And transition is, you know, something that we're strong at, so we try to do it as much as possible during the game.
Finally, Quidasha, you know, scoring has always been something that you've been really good at. It's always been a strength that you've brought to this team. But I'm curious, now that you're a junior and you're one of the veterans for this team, what else have you added to your game this year?
You know, my pull-up jump shot, I've just been fine-tuning that and finishing as well as being a better passer, too, for my teammates. So just the whole package, I'm just working on it.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
St. John's victors over Xavier. They open the Big East season with a victory over the Musketeers here in Cincinnati.